Tom Brady. You think you know him. 7 Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowl MVPs. The most passing yards in NFL history. The most touchdown passes, the most wins. The greatest quarterback who ever lived. By almost any measurement you care to use. That's the version everyone knows. The one that gets recited on sports radio and repeated in arguments about the greatest of all time. But here's what most people don't know. The real Tom Brady story, the one behind the records and the rings, is stranger, more improbable, and more genuinely surprising than the highlight reel version. This is a man who was once too slow and too weak for an NFL scout to take seriously. Who was drafted by a baseball team before a football team ever called his name. Who deliberately took less money than he was worth, tens of millions of dollars less, because winning mattered more than his bank account. Who fell asleep in the locker room before his very first Super Bowl. And who, when he was finally picked in the NFL draft after watching 198 players go before him while sitting with his family in the living room, was so embarrassed by how long it took that he had to leave the house. Today we're counting down the top 5 most surprising facts about Tom Brady. Let's go. Number 5. Before the NFL ever got around to drafting Tom Brady, a baseball team got there first. In 1995, Brady was a 17-year-old at Junipero Serra High School in San Mateo, California. He was already showing serious athletic ability, but into sports. Not one. Football was his passion. Baseball was where professional scouts were starting to pay very close attention. Brady was a left-handed batting catcher with a genuinely rare combination of athleticism, arm strength, and natural instinct behind the plate. He was good enough that the Montreal Expos, a Major League Baseball team, sent scouts to watch him. Then they flew into Candlestick Park to work out directly with their players. An unusual step for a 17-year-old. The Expos were convinced. Their general manager Kevin Malone said Brady had the potential to be, and I am quoting him directly here, one of the greatest catchers ever. They drafted him in the 18th round of the 1995 MLB draft and offered him money equivalent to what they would have given a second or early third round pick, a significant sum for a teenager with no professional experience. Brady turned them down. He chose football. He chose Michigan. The Montreal Expos franchise no longer exists. They relocated to Washington, D.C. in 2004 and became the Nationals. Tom Brady became the greatest quarterback in NFL history. He remains, to this day, the last active player to have been drafted by the Expos and one of the most remarkable what-ifs in the history of American sport. What if he'd said yes? What if the greatest quarterback who ever lived had become a baseball catcher instead? Nobody knows, but the Expos in the end might have been glad he didn't. Number 4. The NFL Scouting Combine exists to identify the best young athletes coming out of college football. Teams pay enormous attention to it. Players spend months preparing for it. The measurements: the 40-yard dash, the vertical jump, the bench press feed directly into draft decisions and can move a player up or down by entire rounds. Tom Brady's combine in February 2000 is now one of the most famous in NFL history. For entirely the wrong reasons. He ran the 40-yard dash in 5.28 seconds. To give that number context, the slowest quarterbacks in recent combine history typically run somewhere around 4.8 to 5.0 seconds. Brady ran 5.28. He looked, in the words of one observer at the time, like he was running through wet cement. His bench press numbers were similarly underwhelming. His physique, captured in a combine photo that has since become one of the most widely shared images in sports history, showed a pale, slightly soft-looking young man who appeared less like a professional athlete and more like someone who had wandered in from a library. NFL scouts were not impressed. Their written assessments of Brady from that period describe him variously as lacking mobility, lacking arm strength, lacking the athleticism required to succeed at the professional level. One scouting report described him bluntly as a player who was unlikely to be a significant contributor in the NFL. He fell and fell. The first round came and went. The second, the third, the fourth and fifth passed. Brady sat with his family watching players he had competed against, players he knew he was better than, being called ahead of him one by one. By the end of the fifth round, he was so humiliated, he left the house rather than continue watching. He was finally selected by the New England Patriots in the sixth round of the 2000 NFL Draft, pick number 199 overall, out of 7 rounds. He was the fourth quarterback selected by New England in that draft alone. When he met Patriots owner Robert Kraft for the first time shortly after being drafted, Brady introduced himself. Kraft pointed out that he was the team's 6th round pick. Brady looked him in the eye and said, "I'm the best decision this organization has ever made." He was not wrong. Number 3. Tom Brady deliberately left more than $60 million on the table during his career with the New England Patriots. This is not a figure of speech. This is not an approximation. This is a documented, calculated decision that Brady made repeatedly across multiple contract negotiations to accept significantly less money than he was worth on the open market, so that the Patriots could spend the difference on other players and remain competitive year after year. In 2005, Brady signed a 6-year contract extension worth approximately $60 million. His agents and independent analysts who reviewed it calculated that he was leaving roughly $18 million on the table compared to what the market would have paid him. In subsequent negotiations, the pattern continued. Brady's contracts with New England were consistently structured to prioritize the team's ability to sign other players' offensive linemen, receivers, defensive playmakers rather than to maximize his individual earnings. The collective under-market value of his Patriots contracts has been estimated at somewhere between $40 and $60 million over the course of his career there. This was not a financial miscalculation. Brady understood exactly what he was worth. He simply valued winning more than he valued the money. For context, Brady's then-wife Gisele Bündchen was the world's highest-earning supermodel for 10 consecutive years. Her career earnings were reported to be on track toward $1 billion. Brady was not accepting team-friendly contracts because he needed the cash. He was doing it because the championships mattered more. He ended his Patriots career with 6 Super Bowl titles. The dynasty that produced those rings was built, in no small part, on the financial flexibility that Brady personally funded by accepting less than he deserved. There is no other athlete in the history of American professional sport who voluntarily gave back that kind of money to keep their team competitive. Not one. Number 2. Before Tom Brady became the greatest quarterback in NFL history, he spent 2 years as the 7th-string quarterback at the University of Michigan. 7th string. Not 1st. Not 2nd. 7th. Brady arrived at Michigan in 1995 as a highly recruited prospect. He had been excellent in high school. The schools that had competed for him were serious football programs. Michigan was one of the most prestigious college football programs in the country, and they had wanted him specifically. And then he got there and found out that 6 other quarterbacks were ahead of him on the depth chart. He spent his first 2 years at Michigan as freshman and sophomore seasons essentially not playing. He watched, he practiced, he studied, while his peers at other programs were getting playing time and developing experience. Brady sat on the bench behind players who would never come close to his eventual career. By his junior year, Brady had fought his way to the starting position. But then came a new challenge. A highly touted freshman named Drew Henson arrived younger, faster, and with NFL scouts already talking about his potential. Michigan's coaching staff, under pressure from those same scouts, began splitting playing time between Brady and Henson. Some games Brady would start and Henson would come in. Some games it was the other way around. Brady went to his coaches and told them directly that he wanted to transfer. He had gone from 7th string to starter, and now felt he was being pushed out again by a younger player who hadn't yet earned it. He prepared a backup plan, a resume for internships in finance. In case football didn't work out, he stayed. He fought for the starting spot again. He won it. And in his senior season at Michigan, he did what he had always done. Under pressure, he delivered. He led Michigan to a comeback victory in the Orange Bowl, trailing by 14 points twice in the game before winning in overtime. The kid who was 7th string, who nearly transferred, who prepared a finance resume as a backup, who ran 5.28 at the combine and was picked 199th in the draft. 7 Super Bowls. And the number one most surprising fact about Tom Brady. Number 1. Before the biggest game of Tom Brady's life before Super Bowl's Kexby, the game that launched the entire dynasty, the game against the heavily favored Louis Rams that nobody expected New England to win. Tom Brady fell asleep in the locker room. Not a power nap, not a brief rest. Asleep. Deeply, properly asleep. With an hour to go before kickoff of the Super Bowl. Brady was 24 years old. He had become the Patriots starter mid-season when Drew Bledsoe went down with an injury, and had led New England on a remarkable run to the Super Bowl in only his second NFL season. The Rams, known as the greatest show on turf, were 14-point favorites. Nobody gave the Patriots a realistic chance. But a teammate found Brady asleep in the locker room and had to wake him up so he could take the field. Brady jogged out to the pregame introductions, and when the announcer called the New England Patriots, instead of individual player introductions, the entire team ran out together. It was Brady's idea, a statement about collective identity over individual ego. In a game where the Rams had introduced their stars one by one, the Patriots came out as a unit. Then Brady went out and played the game of his young life. He led a game-winning drive in the final minutes with no timeouts. Adam Vinatieri kicked the field goal as time expired. New England won 2017. Brady was named Super Bowl MVP. He was 24 years old. He had been awake for approximately 1 hour. That nap, that inexplicable, completely calm, fast asleep before the Super Bowl napkel, knew everything about what separates Tom Brady from everyone else. The moment was not bigger than him. It never was. Not the Super Bowl. Not the come-from-behind drives. Not the fourth quarters when everything was on the line. He went to sleep before the biggest game of his life because, at some deep level that most athletes never reach, he was completely at peace with what was about to happen. He woke up, walked onto the field, and won. That's Tom Brady, the draft pick who embarrassed scouts, the 7th string quarterback who refused to quit, the star who gave away $60 million to keep his team competitive, the man who was drafted by a baseball team before football came calling, and the quarterback who napped through the pregame of his first Super Bowl and woke up to start a dynasty. That's our top 5. If this video changed how you think about the greatest of all time, hit subscribe. We've got plenty more on the athletes, moments, and stories that define sport. Drop a comment below with your favorite Brady moment. We'll see you in the next one.